Hello everyone and welcome to Racing Weekly's Cheltenham Festival preview, brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. I'm Rishi Persad and I'm joined by an esteemed panel. To my immediate left, one of the leading analysts, tipsters, punters, Gavin Lynch. Next to him, Pat Cooney representing Bet365. Willy Twiston-Davies, of course, a fabulous jockey and now part of an integral part of the Twiston-Davies training operation. And over to my far left, my old pal on Racing Weekly, Daily Mail, oddschecker tipster, doing very well, Steve Ryder. Let's start off very quickly by a little line on what the Cheltenham Festival means to you and how excited are you by this year's festival?
I think it's as important probably to Irish people as it is to English people. We absolutely adore it. We think of nothing else from we get to November. We love National Hunt racing, so everybody, I'd say they'll die happy if they had a Cheltenham winner. So it means a huge amount, yeah.
Pat?
Yeah, it never ends, Rishi. It's a 12-month of the year show. Whatever wins the Supreme, you get inundated with inquiries. What prize is it for the champion? Whatever wins the Arkle, what price is that for the champion chase? It's just non-stop. The punters absolutely adore this festival.
I imagine it means something very different to you, Willie, than it does to us punters.
Yeah, no, it's just a very stressful week for me. A lot of socialising, a lot of talking rubbish, and a lot of time watching horses run very slowly.
Steve?
Yeah, what Pat has obviously said around, I've already had a bet for the 2026 Cheltenham Festival. So that says it all, really.
Okay. Well, before we get into day one, just a brief word about Bet365 incredible Cheltenham offer, which is back. It's obviously from the 14th to the 11th of March. There'll be a super boost every single day of Cheltenham 2025, available from 10 a.m. Just download the app and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Obviously, T's and C's apply. On the very first day of the Cheltenham Festival this year, while we're going to be starting with a lot of excitement, it will be a very poignant and somber note for many because the Supreme Novices Hurdle has been renamed in memory of Michael O'Sullivan. Let's hope that it's a terrific race, and I'm sure many people will have him in their thoughts. But I'll start with you, Gav, and how you see this race and whether it's a straightforward one with dear old Kopeck de board.
He sets a very, very high standard. Obviously, he jumped terribly at Christmas with Patrick on board. His jumping was excellent then at the DRF with Paul. All eyes will be on him before the start of the race because at Leopardstown the last day, he was a bit buzzed up. He was on his toes if he had toes. He was sweating up, etc. So I think he's a dot of odds on at the minute. I definitely think he'll be even money on the day. He will take a lot of beating, but everybody will be watching him before the start of the race. There's a lot of horses in here that have won impressively last time out. Work ahead. Salvatore Mundi wasn't impressive maybe in the Moscow Flyer. He didn't behave himself. He was very keen. He jumped poorly, but the vibes have always been that he's got a huge engine. Been to the Triumph Hurdle last year. There's Kiss Will, there's Carbo, there's Aronsi, there was money for that this week. You've got Romeo Coolio. So you've got a huge amount of unknowns. I think it's a really, really strong Supreme. Kopeck de board definitely sets the standard, and I think he'll be 11 to 10, maybe even 5 to 4 on the day.
Agree with that?
Yeah, I do. The way it always works out at these Cheltenham Festival is that the bookmakers are all big and brave for race one, day one, on the basis, well, we've got 27 races to pull it back. So I agree pretty much stride for stride what Gavin's just said. He's the most likely winner, of course. He was super impressive last time out. The time before, I was a bit, I'm going to have to see him again. Well, we did see him again. He was good. Yeah. He's bound to be odds against. You maybe even the later you leave it, the more confident you'll be with your bet because he does get a bit flighty in the preliminaries. So, if he was out there in good shape at the start, around about 11 to 10, you might change your mind and you think, yeah, this is a bet. But as things stand at the moment, us bookmakers, we got 27 races to pull it back. So we'll be big and brave in that one.
Can he be beaten?
I agree with everything everyone said, apart from the fact is I don't think it is a good Supreme. I can't see if any of these turning into a champion hurdle horse, champion chase horse. A lot of them, second favourites been beaten. Salvador Mundi's been beaten plenty. Most of the horses in the race have been beaten before. They're not a Constitution Hill in it. The only one that looks like it could be a very good horse is Kopeck. The one I'd like to mention, he's down the road from us, but that Tripoli Friar is a very talented horse. But my worry would be it's going to be, he needs good ground. It's going to be tacky, and it probably first race of the meeting, Cheltenham on Tuesday. I could see it being dead tacky ground, which probably won't suit it. But if it does dry out enough and it's good to soft good, then I'd fancy him running into a place at a huge price. But no, I can't see past the favourite.
I'm a big fan
Romeo
of...
Cooley is just not good enough to lay a glove on him. If that is like Gavin says, if he turns up and behaves, Romeo Cooley is not good enough to beat that.
Big fan of Triple E Flyer, and I think we spoke about this before, Steve, that if he does have an issue when he's jumping, he does tend to jump right. But that's something that they say at home he doesn't do. He's normally pretty good, but he's clearly a little bit of a thinker when he gets on the race course. He's still babyish. Kopek de Board wins for you, or you like something else in it?
I do like Kopek de Board. I think a lot of people talk around his prelims as a negative, but I would kind of flip that back to being a positive. The fact that he did all of that wrong at the Dublin Racing Festival and still managed to win by 13 lengths, it just shows a very, very good horse. I'd give Work Ahead quite a good chance, to be honest. He was obviously off the track for a long time between his point-to-point win, finished third in a maiden hurdle and then stepped forward. The form of that is working out really well. Cowabunga, Jacob's Ladder have obviously then won out of that since. Yeah, I thought around an each-way price. Henry de Bromhead obviously had a winner earlier on today with Cocktail Divan. He gets his horses to peak in the spring, and I thought around 12 to 1, I thought Willie Money would probably work back in each way.
Okay, so a couple there. But we generally agree Kopek de Board is the one to beat and the standout, or you've got an alternative?
Yeah, no, I'd say the favourite. And what you have to remember is that he went from winning a maiden hurdle unimpressively to go and bolt up in a Grade 1. And I'd say there was a lot of impressive performances at the DRF, but I'd say he was probably the most impressive. So just things have to go his way beforehand and during the race. They're going to race down to the first just like they did at the DRF. So he needs to get into a nice posse, etc., and jump well for Paul, but he'll take a lot of beating.
I love the way that Pat started off this conversation by saying, Kopek goes in, the favourite goes in first race. We've got 27 races and to pull it back after that. Well, the next race, of course, is the Arkle, and it's quite possible that this will be another one that you might put on the list of, well, we'll let this one go because we'll have 26 to pull it back in, because Madgeborough, now that dear old Sogino is on the sidelines, looks a standout.
Yeah, currently, well odds on, and there's really only one legitimate rival, Loda Sud of the Skeltons. You look at Madgeborough, again, he wouldn't be the finished article jumping-wise by any means, but similar to what Willie said about the previous race, that are any of these going to go ahead and win the champion chase the following year? Well, he might be the one, but you look at the rest of them and you think, well, they're okay, they're decent horses, but he was impressive in the end, and he's going to get better and better. It's amazing to think how good he was over hurdles for such a big horse. His to lose, he's 5. Loda Sud is 7. He's 4 from 4, but it hasn't necessarily blown me away, really. But I suppose he's the legitimate danger. But this could be, 2-0 down for the bookmakers. And it's a similar theme. Over the years, bookmakers tend to lose on the first day for certain, probably on the second day, levelish on the third, and then it's just game on, and bookmakers always win on the fourth day. But that used to be when the Albert Bartlett was the first race on the Friday. So, yeah, we used to be 1-0 down on the day, and looks like it could be the case this time around.
2-0 down by the end of the second race, because Madgeborough does look a good thing in this race, doesn't he, Willie?
Yeah, I mean, Willie Mullins has just spoke so highly of the horse from the word go. Every sort of stable tour, he seems to flag up Margeborough more than any of them. How can he be beaten just by jumping, I suppose? I mean, it sounds so negative because we haven't got a runner in it and you'd love to have a chance in it, but Lord de Sud, Jed Mason's a very loyal owner. I mean, he's just not good enough, is he? If you told me a horse rated 152 is going to be second favourite in Arkle, would you fancy him off 152 in a Grand Annual? Probably not. So it's sort of... The stars are aligned for Madgeborough. I hate to be horrible, but the horse, he's had a very, very good year, but he's been well campaigned by Dan. But is he good enough to win an Arkle? It looks unlikely to me.
And can I just ask about the last run, where it appears that he had a hard race, and obviously Roubaix came out of that race and won. A lot of people were talking about how he had to work a lot harder, and Harry sent him on a little bit sooner than they'd like to have seen. Do you think that would leave an effect?
Yeah, I mean, well, Dan, look, no doubt about it. Dan's a genius. He's a very good trainer at getting horses back and getting them to perform on his days. And no doubt about it, he's targeted the Arkle. But I didn't think he expected to have the harder race last time. And he didn't look like he had a lot left. As much as Harry let on he had left at the end, I think the race might have left a bit of a mark. But he's got to improve anyway to beat the favourite. So
the horse that you've been touting since last year as a star, Steve, has a penalty kick, really?
Yeah, I've just checked. Bet365 have an ante-post market and a no runner, no bet market, and he's currently 8-13 ante-post, and I think that's a great price. Obviously won the Triumph Hurdle last year. His jump index via Race IQ was actually really good in the Irish Arkle at the Dublin Racing Festival. even though it looked like he was making mistakes, actually he was gaining lengths. And yeah, I can't see him beating.
What do you think, Gav?
I think there's two certainties to the meeting. Madge and Galloping Deschamps, personally speaking. He jumped a little bit to his left at Fairy House, but going the other way around, he was better. As Steve said, his jumping was excellent at Leopardstown. Now, he did brush through three of them.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if you look at Energamine, that's the way he's always jumped. He won 2 champion chases. If you want to be a 2 mile chaser, you can't spend too much time in the air like a Galloping Deschamps does. So you have to be nice, low and quick. But at the last day in the Irish Arkle, he winged it, he stood off it. To me, this looks a very, very ordinary race. Load of Sud, if Harry rides him to come late, he could finish second. But if he gets involved early, he might pay for it late on. I think it's a very, very ordinary contest. Only by night looks like she's going to go for the mare's chase. So it's Madgebra's to lose. I'd say the fences are his only danger.
Yeah. I think, again, fairly straightforward, fairly simple. Like the Supreme, there's a standout horse. Madgebra, perhaps even more so than Kopek de Board. See how we're plotting this, by the way. So 1, 2, 3, do a couple of races, and then we move to the Ultima, which we'll come to in a little bit of time. But we'll talk about Broadway Boy and that in a little bit, because what we're going to do, by the way, just to remind everybody, for our format for each of the 4 days, we do the big races, and then we come back to the handicaps at the end. So I'll move on and talk about the Mares' Hurdle, which there was a point of the season where it looked like it was going to be a good race. Then perhaps it looks like it wasn't. I wonder if things have changed so much that it's removed some of the attraction for you.
Yeah, definitely. The race doesn't do a lot for me, to be honest. I'd like to see the mares competing against the better horses. Obviously, there's a purpose for a lot of them, but I mean, not the same again. It's just I don't know. I don't like the race at all. I'd rather than be running against the geldings. Like I'm delighted they're doing that with the filly, but like how many good mares have we, like Honeysuckle, we could have seen in Champion Hurdles when she was running in this. We could, like, I think it takes away from the festival of this race. I know mares are very important, but there's plenty of other opportunities throughout the season. I think the mares race just dilutes some of them bigger ones. So, I don't even know what's running on.
A good start to the preview of this race anyway. Steve, Jade de Grugy is the favourite, but I think there are a couple of plays against her, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm going to go for one at a wild price. Something at a massive price is going to fill the frame here. Why Not currently is 50 to 1, no runner, no bet. Now, she was campaigned as a 2 miler earlier on in her career. She then finished third behind Golden Ace at the April meeting at Cheltenham last season. She won over this course and distance on her reappearance, albeit in a handicap, and then won a listed race at Doncaster by 9 lengths. Now, she was slightly disappointed when she was third behind Jatara last time, but she didn't get to the lead. I do think she's the pace angle in this, and I thought she was, worth taking a chance on around 50 to 1.
Right. What do you like here, Gav?
It'll depend on Lassie Mouth, won't it?
Well, that's one of the uncertainties. I mean, someone has suggested, I've been seeing people talking now, the news about Brighter Days Ahead going for the Champion Hurdle. People say that now the Mullins team are saying, hang on a second. Well, here we go. Brighter Days Ahead. It's gone for the other race. This is a penalty kick if she goes for that.
Yeah, the thing I'll say about if Brighter Days Ahead had gone for the Mares' Hurdle instead of the Champion, they definitely would have changed the conditions for next year so that it could never happen again. So it's good that it's brilliant that she's going for the Champion Hurdle. The question mark for Willie is, can he rely on Jade de Grugy to win it? Because Willie loves to have winners on the Tuesday. Fair enough, he's got Madgebra and the favourite for the first. But I'd say it could be as close as 50-50 whether she might run here instead of the Champion. So obviously she'll go off odds on if she does, but let's pretend she doesn't. I think July Flower and Cala Conti, I thought that was a good run at Christmas.
Is Cala Conti definitely going for this race? She's got a couple of other entries. If she does, I thought she was a great each-way play.
Yeah, she'd have an each-way squeak. And July Flower got a brilliant ride from Rachel. It came from a long way off the pace, but she was third in a French Champion Hurdle over, say, 3 miles in Auteuil. So her form is very strong. She's 11 to 2 there each way. She'd have a squeak, but it revolves around Lossiemouth, whether Willie can fully rely on Jade de Grugy. She gave £12 to OK Horse the last day. I'd say she'd improve tons for that, because there was rumours there at Christmas was she even in the yard and stuff. So I'd say she'll improve tons for that. But yeah, Lossiemouth, I hope Lossiemouth goes for the Champion Hurdle. The fact that she'd have fall the last day, that might play in their minds a little bit. So maybe July Flower each way if Lossiemouth doesn't show up here.
All right. What do you like, Pat?
Lossiemouth withstanding. I think you'd have to look at Golden Ace with Jeremy Scott, a horse that beat Brighter Days Ahead last year. How that happened, I've no idea. I don't think it'll ever happen again. But I'd imagine she would be popular, because if people like me are saying, well, she did beat Brighter Days Ahead, she's currently a big enough price, really. And a lot of these Irish horses, they, apart from Lossiemouth, they've all got similar levels of ability. So, you know, wouldn't be a lot wrong with Golden Ace at her price. I don't.
I think after the race at Wincanton, they were suggesting that she might go for the champion. But I'm not.
She looked like she wanted 2.5 at Wincanton.
Yeah. That would have been an issue, really, would of the 2.5. But you know, she gets it well enough. She could turn up in the champion and finish 5th or 6th, or she could have a more prominent performance in this. So I think she'll shorten up in the market. But the Irish horses, maybe they just been that bit better.
Okay. I do think Calaconte will run well, assuming she goes for this race. She's so consistent. She bumped into Amsterdam earlier in the season. And even though she's been beaten a couple of times, she's been giving weight away. And I think in the mare's hurdle, I think she could run well at a double-figure price. And of course, the big race on the first day is indeed the champion hurdle. And good news for the race that Brighter Days Ahead is confirmed to run in it. Constitution Hill, of course, I think the fact that he's even just come back to the sort of form that makes him a standout horse once again is an achievement. Is he the Constitution Hill of old, and will he win?
I don't know if he is, to be honest. I was against him at Kempton. I was with Lossiemouth. Lossiemouth didn't run a race at all. I think if you look at the proximity that Burdett Road finished to him, kind of says it all. Nico even gave him a couple of slaps, which is a bit unlike him, really. I wasn't in love with his run in the international hurdle. The fact that this race has been pushed back half an hour to 4 o'clock with the low sun would also be a concern for me with the last hurdle. If I'm being honest, he took a real chance with it when he won the champion hurdle, took a real chance with it when he won the international hurdle this year. So that would be a concern for me. I'd give Lossiemouth probably more of a chance than what most people would. Her Cheltenham record is fabulous. She won the Triumph hurdle easily. She won the international hurdle easily. She won the mare's hurdle easily. Obviously, King of Kingsfield is going to be in here as a pacemaker for Brighter Days Ahead. I think that will suit Lossiemouth. I think that she'll stalk them through and can perhaps come late. So I'd be with Lossiemouth at the prices.
Okay, Lossiemouth against Constitution. What about you, Willie?
No, I'm all over Constitution Hill. Sam went and rode a couple of bits of work at that Kempton work day.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to get him excited. But he just said, I've never seen anything like it. He said, I'm going along, went slow. He was on the lead horse, went to pick it up. And he said within 2 strides, he'd gone from upsides him to 10 lengths clear and the horse wasn't blowing. He said he just that would take a lot for Sam to get excited. And I just thought, haven't heard that. And I actually think he's been good all the year. I think he's building up with each run. I think he's ready to peak. If he comes back to anywhere near his best, he'll win. And by the sounds of it, he is.
And just from a training point of view, what we saw, obviously he's had his issues.
Yeah.
No major injuries, but he's had his issues. And what we saw in that gallop with Sergino to where we're at now with him, how hard is it to do that?
Well, I'd say Sergino in his own right is an absolute machine. But looking at Constitution Hill, he's also, he ran in a 3 mile point. I'd say he looks a very big, robust horse. I'd say he's stuffy, as Nicky says. And I feel sorry for Nick. He's got a lot of stack. The horse is unbeaten. He's not doing a lot wrong. He's just doing what he thinks is right. And you get people like me and Dad, and we end up going and running things like Potter's Time. We end up beating yourself. He's only just trying to play it safe. He's just a bit more cautious than us. So from what I heard from Sam the other day, and then we spoke to Nick on the phone up to Doncaster on Saturday, they're all seeming very excited. So if they're being bullish and happy, nothing is good enough to beat him if he turns up 100%.
Pat?
Yeah, I'm a little bit with Willie on this. I'm surprised how many people have a definite opinion that Better Days Ahead, getting that £7 allowance.
I hope it's not Better Days Ahead, because that will be a walk in the park.
Yeah. The £7 is gold dust, isn't it, with these mares? It's an awful lot of weight to get, but you just look at Constitution Hill. I was down at Nicky's for the open day a couple of weeks ago, and he just walks around like an old sheep. You think, well, how on earth does he get revved up for 2 miles? But I suppose I have a concern with Constitution Hill. He's such a slick jumper. You know, he's nearly come down a couple of times. Hasn't he? Even the great Ishtibrak fell a few times. So it's going to be a fast run race, a real wild race. But in terms of pricing, I was asked this morning, how will they bet on the day? Say the Fab Four get there and you bet to 100% on the 4. You have to go evens, Constitution Hill. It'll probably be evens, 9-4.
Yeah.
And then maybe 7 Lossiemouth, maybe even 10 State Man. There'll be bundles and bundles of evens about. May I say, maybe 11 to 10 in places for a fleeting moment. But I lean towards Constitution. I'm more on the fence than a lot of people. It seems to be yes, Constitution or yes, Gordon's. and the other two may be value options on the day. They're going to be big prices, the third and fourth in.
Okay. Gavin, I know that I've heard a little snippet of a conversation you had with some colleagues of mine on Racing TV, suggesting that it wouldn't be the most ridiculous thing for Brighter Days Ahead to serve it up to him.
Yeah, I think she will, but my heart is, I love Constitution Hill. He's an 8-year-old. He's taken on 2 6-year-old mares, giving them £7. I'd love to see him win. I backed Anzadam months ago, the night of Fairy House at a big price, and he's an on-runner, so I'm definitely not having
I feel that pain with you.
I backed him each way. I just thought he had a chance. But I'm definitely not having a bet between now and Tuesday, because I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant. It's England versus Ireland. Constitution Hill, the best Supreme Novice hurdler of my lifetime. I don't know if you'd agree.
Without question.
Without question.
And probably the best performance of his career when he won the Supreme.
Yeah.
You know.
What I'd say about this year is that it's a guess if he's back to his best. His work that day in December was poor. He then wins at Christmas when Lossiemouth never travelled a yard. So that's not him at his best. The last day, it was nice for him to get a run. I think he's improving and improving all the time. If he gets close to his best, he's a certainty. There's going to be absolutely buckets of money on this race on the day, because everybody will have an opinion. He's already, I think, 10-9 on Betfair. So he's going to get very close, as Pat says, to even money. I just think it's going to be an amazing race. King of Kingsfield out in front. If you're going to back Lossiemouth each way back or now, because there won't be 8 runners on the day, you're getting 3 places each way now, just if you wanted to. King of Kingsfield be out in front, leading down the hill. I don't know how far he'll lead them, but she'll get to 2 out. Brighter Days Ahead and take it up. And Nico will just sit in her slipstream. Lossiemouth will be behind him.
Yeah.
Statement I wouldn't fancy.
Off the bridle, beaten already.
Possibly. But when they turn in and Nico maybe comes within a length of Brighter Days Ahead, let's say that happens, it's just going to be the best 30 seconds of the week, isn't it?
It'd be lovely if it happened just like that.
Yeah, I think it will, and it's going to be amazing. And I would also take Steve Point with the 4 o'clock thing, and I don't know if that's a good idea, changing the champion hurdle to 4 o'clock. We saw it twice with Benny Didiu and Annie Power. So anyway, hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, I'd be cheering for Constitution Hill, but I'll definitely have no bet in the race, because I have huge respect for Brighter Days Ahead.
I blame the broadcasters for that. Changing all the races to be all the big races at 4 o'clock every day. Going off script a little bit here, but how do we stand? Who's in favour of Constitution Hill winning the champion hurdle?
Oh, wow.
Okay, so most people, yeah, okay. And Brighter Days Ahead? Lossiemouth? State Man? No, nothing. Okay, so strong for Constitution Hill at the moment. It's exciting, isn't it? Whatever we say, it is terrific that they're all lining up in the
you
big
want
race.
Championship races, right? And that's where we're getting. But you need championship rivals at this level. So it's going to be, the Gold Cup is a bit lopsided, the Champion Chase possibly, but the Champion Hurdle could be the rest of the week.
Yeah, and we moan all year about how small fields are ruining everything. We wouldn't mind if these 4 turned up and the pacemaker, making it 5, and we have a true proper run race. 5 runners, that'll do us. We don't want no hopers turning up. All eyes are on the big 4.
Indeed. Exciting times. Constitution Hill, I hope he wins anyway. Okay, so we've spoken about the big races, and we're going to do a recap on the handicaps, the other races on the day. And we're going to start with Willy here, because, of course, one of the horses I think a few people on this panel like is Broadway Boy in the Ultima.
Yeah, no. Very, very pleased with him at home. This has been his plan since January the 1st. He did his last bit of work, went to Ben Brains and probably did 2.5 miles in the deep sand the other day. Worked really good. Really pleased it took him. Had a good, healthy blow. He will do his last, not serious, but minor bit tomorrow. If you go to his Hennessy form, he's got a very, very good chance. Cheltenham suits him so well. He's very versatile ground-wise. He's had his knees medicated since that last run, which is always done. We did it earlier this year, so it didn't last as long, hence why he jumped poorly. His jumping on the whole is very good. I actually schooled him myself last week, and I wouldn't jump any horse. And he was very, very good. I struggle to find a lot of negatives, any negatives about him. We've always thought he's better than 150. A lot of his racing post ratings have been mid to late 150s. I think he's got it in him to run to a mark of the late 150s, which hopefully would be enough to be well handicapped to win here. The Changing Man is favourite, is he?
Yeah.
I don't like that horse. He finishes second a lot. I thought it was a really poor Reynoldsdown. Very, very excited by that.
Yeah.
No offence to the horse. He's been a bridesmaid in handicaps, so why all of a sudden is he improved? It's like when Matata won at Windsor by 20 lengths, everyone always started talking about the Champion Chase. Like, well, the horse hasn't improved overnight after he's been beaten in 2 handicaps. Broadway Boy, I just feel like he has still got a bit of sleeve, and we're very lucky. We're versatile. Ground don't really matter what it is, and he's very versatile to be ridden whatever way as well. He's, as I say, look, we've got a small select team, but he'd be one of our best chances of the week. I still think he's great value at 10-1. He'd probably jump off a lot shorter on the day.
Well, I think he was 20-1 when Steve and I did one of the Racing Weekly shows a couple of weeks back, and Steve listed all the reasons why he's going to win the Ultima. Do you still have all those reasons to hand?
Yeah, you can always make trends kind of fit what you want it to, but I love Broadway Boy as a horse. So the more I looked at the trends and the more he ticked, the more excited I got. So this is a race that the Irish do terribly in. They're north from 46 since 2006. 10 of the previous 12 winners were rated between 139 and 151. Well, that's perfect because he's rated 150. All the winners this century recorded their best RPR over at least 3 miles, and Broadway Boy did in the Old Hennessy. That is a race itself that has provided 5 of the last 11 winners. 9 of the previous 12 winners were no older than 8. So at the age of 7, he's definitely still open for improvement. And 7 of the last 10 winners had run at Cheltenham so far that season. So lots and lots of ticks in Broadway Boys. So yeah, I'm all in. He's available 10-1 ante-post, and yeah, I absolutely.
And you backed him at 20s, did you? Or maybe bigger, did you?
It was over 20.
Well, I will say with these handicaps, firms like ourselves will certainly be first 5 on those races. And from what Willie and Steve are saying, it's pretty tough to see him being out the first 5 as things stand at the moment. So look out for those each way terms on the race. First 5, there'd be someone would be first 6 on the race, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he couldn't be out the first 5, could he?
I don't think so. If he hadn't smashed through 4 out, arguably he'd have won the Hennessy. The Hennessy's worked out very well. Henry's friend's gone out and won. I think he's a very talented horse, and lucky he hasn't been over-raced this year. He's had a big, long gap. Gallops have worked well. Seems very bright and happy. I just really, really struggle to see why he can't run a big race. Like, he's won on good ground there in the April of his hurdling career. Last year, we probably should have pulled up stumps once he was wrong before Cheltenham, but obviously, yeah, we like to give it a go. But no, this year, there's no excuses. His knee's medicated, looks fantastic. And no, I couldn't be happy with the horse. It's down to him now, really.
And Willie, just one question. Where would you like to see him in the race after half a mile? Would you like to see him in front or second or third, or does it matter?
It doesn't really matter to him. Sam will be very aggressive over the first, as we always like to be, because as you'll find, if you watch Cheltenham races, the longer the race, the more people want to be at the front for whatever reason. Like the Hennessy's, the Grand Nationals, everyone wants to go flat out down to the first, and then you just sit where you land. Whereas he's been pacey enough to make the running in Hennessy. I think he'll jump out to make the running. If something goes flat out stupid, then he'll just be handy. And yeah, no, he's very versatile. He's been dropped in and won, and he's also made the running and won. But the thing about him is he's such a strong sayer. If they go a good gallop and he can sit 2 lengths off something, then fine. If he's making the running, then fine. But he'll be aggressive anyway, because that's his running style. He'll stay further than 3 mile.
He's going to be carrying a lot of Racing Weekly cash when the time comes. Okay, any other thoughts on the handicaps on day 1?
I liked Broadway Boy in the Ultima.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any reasons?
Fits all the trends. I think the trainer fancies it a good bit. So yeah, a lot going for it. Worked very well the other day.
Bet365 each way, first 5. I don't think he's going to be out the first 5.
I know he's got a good chance. I'm only teasing. The Fred Winters looks too hard. There's so many plot horses in that. It's incredible. If you're going to back Stencil, I think you have to back him in a double with East India Dock, because it's a related double. I'm just saying, if you're going to total look at £7 the other day, from 125 to 132, he was obviously a massive eye catcher in Punchestown. I think it's a race that's too difficult. I definitely fancy a few horses in handicaps Thursday and Friday, so come back to me with those.
Of course I will.
Before we go home. But in the last race, I think Now Is the Hour has a great chance. I think he's like 3 to 130.
This is Mark 139, is it? He's gone.
Yeah, now he was rated 125 before he went to Navan. He had to finish in the first 4. Keith Donoghue did a great job of finishing 4th over 3 miles, which he had to qualify. He gets £4 extra. He's up to 135, plus 4 is 139. I don't think it's the strongest race in the world. Obviously, Haughty Couleur and Transmission ran against each other. They're both big dangers. Captain Cody was slightly ahead of Now Is the Hour in Navan, but I just think this has been his target. And to me, he might be the best bet on Tuesday.
Okay, that's now is the hour in the National Hunt Novices Chase. Pat, what about you? Anything for the handicaps?
Yeah, I think in the Fred Winter race 6 to 440, Total Look has been very popular, and even more so today, actually. And Gavin touched on him there. He was a bit of an eye catcher last time out. You could say that quite merrily about a few of these in the race. But he's got a good looking profile. The Triumph wouldn't be a race for him, and he's got a mark of 132. You look at Stencil, it's kind of a tradition when you get to price up these handicaps at Cheltenham. You say, what's JP got? Well, we'll make that one favourite so we won't get caught at fancy prices. He doesn't look a bargain to me, Stencil. I'm not even sure he'll go a favourite. Total Look has a good, solid profile, and another one for those. Check out the each-way terms on the day for me.
Okay. And Steve, anything for the handicaps?
Yeah, you touch on Total Look for the Fred Winter. I like the horse that actually beat him. I really respect Joseph O'Brien in the Fred Winter. He's won it twice. He won it with Band of Outlaws, won it last year with Lark in the Morning. The really important stat with this is the fact that horses that have only ran 3 times prior to this race actually have a 60% record. They just have a fantastic rate. In all these handicaps, you want to try and obviously keep a bit back from what the handicapper can actually see, but that's a great stat for this. Beyond Your Dreams is the horse I like. Does she beat Total Look? She then justified a short price on her next start. She jumped really poorly that day, but she hasn't actually ran since December, so she'll have plenty of schooling. She is owned by JP McManus, whether the colour of the hats will influence the market. But yeah, she's currently available at 8-1, no runner, no bet at the time of recording. She needs a couple to come out, but you'd imagine they will. And then Gavin has kind of mentioned a couple in the National Hunt Chase. I do like both Hater Colour and Transmission. More so Transmission, I think, if he comes here. Purely because of his prep. Neil Mulholland actually ran the Druid's Nephew in the Cleve hurdle before he won the Ultima, and he actually did the same with Transmission, ran in the Cleve and then goes back over fences. The fact that they went back over hurdles shows that they were happy with his handicap mark over fences, and yeah, he's currently available at 6-1.
Yeah, I like Transmission as well. Sorry to add to the burden, but second to Highland, first time up this season, and then he won. Because he's the horse that Joe Anderson produced that amazing recovery on at Plumpton last year. So I thought he was one to include. You mentioned Joseph O'Brien's. I also like Naturally Nimble. I know he might be close to top weight, but I like the way that horse has raced so far, and I think there's probably a little bit more to come. Pretty useful.
The fog definitely helped his run at Christmas as well.
Absolutely.
Not sure he's a definite runner at the minute.
No, well, I don't know for certain what's going to be declared, but I think Joseph's got a few in the race. So, okay, so that is a look at day 1 of the festival. Do we want a best selection on day 1, or should we save that for one big one at the end? You reckon? Go on.
Yeah, go for Now Is the Hour on the last race.
Now is the hour.
Yeah, I'll Total Look in the Fred Winter.
Okay. Broadway Boy in the Ultima.
Don't need to say anything.
And Broadway Boy in the Ultima.
Yeah. I hate to do it to you, but we're all on Broadway Boy. Steve put me onto him last season, and I'm a big fan of the horse as well. Okay, so that's a look at day 1 of this year's Cheltenham Festival.